So there's another workflow that I like to call the MIDI Skeleton workflow, and it's great for those who have a hard time pushing past that 8-bar loop and actually finishing tracks. You know, you might have hundreds of 8-bar loops sitting around, but none get finished. And essentially what you're doing with this workflow technique is you're putting structure before anything else, even composition. It won't work for everyone, but I'm going to show you what it is. So basically you'll start with a number of MIDI tracks, and you can be as specific as you like. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to call one drums, bass, synths, and I'll call one vocals. Actually, we won't have any vocal. I'll just call it drums, bass, synths, and effects. In fact, we just have 3 elements: drums, bass, and synths. So normally you would add a bit more. You might go a bit more in depth. You might say kick and percussion, bass 1, bass 2, if you know that you're going to have more than one bass. But I'm just going to show you the basics. So 3 tracks. And like I said, what we're doing is structuring before anything else. So I'm going to create a MIDI clip. I'm going to say this will be drums. We don't have to name it or anything. We're just using it as a placeholder. So I'll have drums up to 33 bars. Then I'll have a quick break. Then I'll have drums for 32 bars again. Then we'll move into the bridge. It should be quite long. Then I'll have drums for 32 bars after that, a quick break, and then drums for another 32 bars for my outro. Then with the bass, I don't want the bass to come in until over here. So I'll put in a few MIDI clips to reflect that. Same over here and over here. With the synths, I want some synths coming in after bar 16. But at the drop, I don't want any synths. Only in the second bracket of this drop here, I'll bring them in. In the main chorus, I want them coming in straight away. In the outro, I don't want anything at all. And there'll be some synths in the breakdown, and probably in this break as well. So as you can see, it's very basic, and you can go more in depth with this, like I said. But what it allows you to do, if you get to this point, and you've got a basic structure laid out, all that you need to do is compose and fill it in. So it's a lot easier for those who, like I said, struggle with getting out of the loop. There is a risk of going overboard with this, and what I mean by that is adding MIDI clips, blank MIDI clips for every single element you think you're going to have. So you might create one for claps, one for hi-hats, and all that kind of stuff, and that is a waste of time because it pushes you into a hole in terms of creativity that you can't get out of, and it slows you down big time. It's not a fast way to work. Now, one thing I do recommend with this is actually to copy the structure of other tracks and do this MIDI clip thing. Not too specifically, but you could drag a track in, create an audio track, drag one in, and just copy it. You know, the kick might play for however many bars, so you put that in. Same with the percussion, same with the synths, the pads, all that kind of stuff. And then you delete the track that you brought in, and then you create your own. That's not cheating, that's not copying, it's just a way to work. Now there are some pros and cons to this workflow. I'm just going to go through a few. The first one, a pro, is that, you know, this workflow is great for those who struggle with writer's block, creative block, or getting out of the loop, that 8-bar loop. It's also generally a fast way of working. You know, once you get the structure down, and it shouldn't take too long, especially if you have a good understanding of structure, and you should at this point in the course. It won't take too long. You'll get this done in a few minutes, and then you can work on the composition, the sound design, and so on. On the downside, though, it can discourage creativity, especially if, you know, you're one of those people who structure from a loop. Like I said, you can pigeonhole yourself if you make it too specific, and if you make it too basic, it's not that helpful. For example, if you made it this basic, it might not be that helpful. It requires an intuitive knowledge of structure. If you don't know how to arrange and structure a track, then you're going to have a hard time because you won't know where to play stuff. But if you follow the phrasing rule of 8 to 16 bars to 32 bars, then you can get away with it. And if you do not have an intuitive knowledge of structure, you can copy the structure of another track. It also requires a general idea of where you want the track to go. So you should have somewhat of an idea in your head, even if it's a basic one. If you don't have that, then it's going to be hard to arrange before doing the composition. So in the next video, we're going to be looking at yet another workflow, and that will be the piano-based workflow, which is, again, largely different. So I'll see you then.